Hey, here we are again, back for another ukulele lesson. I want to do some more chord inventory, finish off the primary chord chart, and add the relative minor chords. At this point, you'd be forgiven for thinking that all I know about are primary chords. That's not the case, but this turns out to be one of the greatest organizing principles in your practice. It's a good way for you to gather your chords together in a way that makes sense, but it's also how you would organize songs that you've learned, how you'd remember them, how you'd compose your own, and how you learn new ones. The primary chords are the primary chords. They're the main thing that you will be playing for chords. They are numbered 1, 4, and 5. In the key of C, we've seen that that's C. C, D, E, F is 4 away from C, and G is 5. They're also known as the tonic, the subdominant, and the dominant. I'm going to go super quickly because you've seen this a few times already, but the idea for me here is that as I go from one key to the next, what I want to do is go to the key of the 5 chord. So I'm going to take the 5 of C, make that my new key, and count up 1, 4, 5 from there, and put the chords for the key of G in there. G, A, B, C. So this C actually converts over to the 4, and we add a note to it for the D. The next key would be D, that's the 5 of G. G becomes the 4 of D. Those are inversions. If D is the 5 of G, G is the 4 of D. If G is the 5 of C, C is the 4 of G, and so on. So we add 1 to the 4 chord to get the 5. The 5 becomes my next key. Count up 4 or transfer the D over, and we get A, D, and E. I'll put up chord pictures of the ones we haven't covered before, but in C we have C, F, G, and C. In G we have G, C, D, and G. In D, it's D, G, A, and D. And in A, D, E, and A. Notice the sound's always the same. The relationship between all those chords is the same. C and G are some of our most popular chords and keys. The F I haven't done yet. I always start on C because it's kind of ground zero for music. It has no sharps or flats, so it becomes our template for everything else. So if the F here is the 4, it came from a key where it was the 1. C was the 5, so B was the 4, except it's flat. When we're doing these keys above the F, the 4th is going to be flatted. It has to be 2 frets below the 5. So if I transfer C over there, the 4 has to be 2 frets below it. That's B flat, not B, because B and C are right beside each other. I'll do one more. B flat would be the previous key. F would be the 5 of that key. The note before it is E, but we're flatting the 4s in these keys because they're too close to that chord. Once you get into too many flats, the keys aren't as fun, but the key of F, we have to learn F, B flat, C, and F. The B flat has that little bar where we're playing the 1st fret on the first 2 strings with your pointer, 2nd fret, the D note, 3rd fret, the B flat. So it's a diagonal line, 3, 2, and 1, with a bar, another 1. In the key of B flat, we need an E flat. The E flat I'm getting with this B flat note, a 3, a 3, and a 3. A G, an E flat, and another B flat. You could accomplish it by leaving the G open, and you'd be duplicating 2 G notes if you like. So those are the primary chords. In each case then, I want to add the relative minor, that's the 6. We have 1, thus far we don't have 2s or 3s, but we have the 4 and the 5. Those are majors, 1, 4, and 5. The relative minor is the main minor chord, it's the 6. So alphabetically, you just add a note. You've got the 4, E flat, the 5, F, so the 6 is G, but it's minor. The 6 is a minor chord. F, the 4 is B flat, 5 is C, 6 is D minor. Add a note to G, and in the key of C, you get the relative minor A minor. In the key of G, the relative minor is E minor. In D, it's a B minor. And in A, it's an F sharp minor. In each case, we're going to the 6th chord. If you counted back 2 notes from the C to the B to the A, you could go backward to get the minor, or you add 1 to the 5 chord. So then you want to go through these and add in your minor chords. So in the key of B flat, we'd have B flats, E flats, Fs, G minors, and B flats. The 1 chord to the 6 has a doo-wop sound. So B flat to G minor to E flat to F. 6 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, and 1. That's the doo-wop progression, 1, 6, 4, and 5. We've talked about that before, but that's when you go directly from the 1 to the 6, the major to the relative minor, and then the other 2 primary chords. In F, the D minor just has the same F chord where you add a D note on the 3rd string. So the doo-wop progression, go F to D minor to B flat to C to F. So once you've mastered 1, 4, 5 in a key, and you've got a few keys under your belt and you're getting further and further up and down the chart, start adding in the relative minors. In C, it's an A minor. C to A minor to F to G to C. C, A minor, F to G7 is nice and C. In G, it's an E minor. It's going to look like a 2, 3, 4 and an open, or 2, 3, 4 and a 4. So you could go G, E minor, C, D, G, E minor, C, D, and G. In D, the relative minor is B minor. We have many of the same notes of the relative major in the relative minor. You've probably noticed that already. It'll be in our pictures a little bit. But here I've got a 2, 2, 2, and open for D. For the B minor, I'm going to grab a B here, the 4, and then a couple of those 2s again, and then a 2 up here. So D to B minor, that's a bar chord, the B minor. It's a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 4. To get a good bar, drag your finger right tight to the fret. I only cover the number of strings I need usually. I need these 3 strings, so I cover those 3. I pull my finger up to the fret, and the side closest to the thumb is what's pressing into the guitar, sorry, the ukulele in this case. This is touching the strings and pulling right into the fret wire. I'm not pressing this side of the finger down. I'm not even trying to be flat. I'm relaxing my whole arm. I'm letting my hand have this normal cupped shape, and when I put it down, the finger is creating a U shape with the thumb, but the thumb is offset. It's not over here, it's not even right behind the finger. It's closer to the ukulele body, but behind the neck. That way I can torque into the fret a little bit, pull that finger up to the fret, and add the other finger. We'll talk more about bars over and over again. Right now you'll find them quite difficult, but that's the basic idea behind them. Finally, we need the F sharp minor. So F sharp minor is like taking an A chord and adding an F sharp to it. So it's a very easy change. D and E, A, add a finger for F sharp, align them into the 2nd fret for a D, whether you lay this down or add a finger. Right now I'm tucking the pointer in from behind, and E. So those are all your relative minors. That's the 6 of each of the keys. The last thing I want to show you now is that those minor chords batch together into each key. So just as the key of C has Fs and Gs in it. It also has D minors and E minors. D minor is the relative of F. It comes here as the 2. E minor, the relative of G, becomes the 3. So I got C is 1, number 2 is D minor, number 3 is E minor, 4 is F, 5 is G, and 6 is A minor. So in every case, you can play the key alphabetically as well. So get your key down, a 1 and a 5, get good at C's and G's, then add an F, C, F, G. After you've got a few keys going and you're playing a few songs, add the relative minor, C, F, G, and A minor. You pick up a D minor in the key of F, an E minor in the key of G, then bring those minor chords back in. So in the key of C, these 3 minors go with the key of C. When you stick those back into the key of C, you can practice them in any order, but why not just go alphabetically at first? C, number 2 is D minor, number 3 is E minor, 4 is F, 5 is G, 6 is A minor, and the root again is C. You notice I left out the B. It's diminished and we're not doing those yet. So practice the key of C with those 2 extra minors. Now you have 3 majors, the primary chords, 3 minors, the secondary chords. In G, the relative minor was E minor, but C's relative minor, the A, comes along, and so does D's. So the 2 is A minor, the 3 is B minor, then C and D are the 4 and 5, E is the relative minor. So you can play in G, with A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, and G. Let's do one more, the key of D. 1, 4, 5 primary chords are D, G, A. The 2 is E minor, that's the relative minor of G. The 3 is F sharp minor, the relative minor of A. So we can have D's, E minors, F sharp minors, G's, A's, the relative minor, the B minor, and D again. There I've given you the entire key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, with the exclusion of 7 for now, in all of these keys going up a 5th from C. We can go down a 5th to the key of F, or up a 4th, and check out the 1, 4, 5 there, F, B flat, and C, the relative minor, D minor, and the relative minors of its 4 and 5, the G minor, and the A minor. So we get F, G minor, A minor, B flat, C, D minor, and F. F and D minor are very similar. C and A minor are very similar. B flat and G minor are very similar. And finally, let's do the key of B flat. We've got B flats and E flats and Fs, D minors, G minors, and something here, the relative minor of E flat. That's a C minor. A C minor is exactly like a B minor, just up a fret. They're actually just like A minors, where you have 2 open, 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 moved up a fret, moved up 2 frets, the 2 becomes a 4, the opens become 2s, so I have to bar them. So that's A minor, B minor, C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, E flat minor, E minor, and so on. So that's it for today. That's inventory, but also a practice method. Work on one key, add the relative minor. When you get a few keys with a few relative minors, batch those relative minors into the other keys where they become the 2s and the 3s. They're called secondary chords. The minors, the 2, 3, 6, and also the 7 are secondary chords, and the 1, 4, 5 are the primary chords. Hopefully you guys hung around a little bit for that, and we got some algorithms triggered a bit, rather than just dying off with ukulele. Ukulele needs some love too, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.